Hello? Is it?
Hello.
I know we say this every time. Are you recording now?
I think you say it every time, actually.
I do. I just want to completely clarify that we are actually recording something. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the now fortnightly vidcast that we're running. Basically, guys, we're just too busy, too important, right, to be able to do this every week now. There's just too much stuff going on. Our diaries just do not work. But delighted to be joined by the wonderful human being that is Priya Hunt, everybody.
Yay.
There she is. She didn't tell me to say that either, but here she is.
No. You missed a few bits about her being wonderful and perfect and lovely.
Exactly.
Did you not read the chat? You were just meant to read it word for word. It's not hard.
Sorry. There goes that job on Country File I'm never going to get. Just unbelievable.
Make it as a reporter, mate.
No, but good to see you guys. Obviously, it's been a while. Sorry, I couldn't make the last one.
Nice of you to turn up.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. You're
not here last week. We didn't really notice the.
No, don't be mean. It's too hot to be mean. I think usual. Before we get into it with Priya, I think usual disclosure is that all the views that we exercise on this call are our own. They're not necessarily the views of the business that we work for. Although we're always very well behaved, so that hopefully shouldn't be too much of an issue. So to kick off, Priya, I guess the obvious question that I've been asking everybody in the whole series of these that we've been doing: how have you found the change to remote working?
I'm an extrovert, so I have found it really, really tough, to be honest. I'm missing people. I'm really missing seeing them. There are some good bits, definitely. I've learned a bit more about all the various country pathways where I could walk near my house, and I've discovered that my husband can make a mean masala chai, so he's very well trained.
Nice.
But besides that, I think I've really struggled to not see people face to face. Well, it's great to see people on video, on Teams, and I don't know how we would have survived without Teams, but it's not quite the same. So I'm one who can't just wait to get back to the office, at least for a few days, not all the time, but I found it hard.
Yeah.
And for anyone who obviously maybe doesn't know you, do you just want to kind of explain sort of your role at Thames as well?
Yeah, sure. So I joined Thames about just over a year ago, so about the middle of June, and I head up what's called customer experience design. So I work in Kelly's customer experience organization, but look after things like customer research and insights, the website, various journey design, customer communications, what we do with vulnerable customers, property searches, all that kind of good stuff. So that's sort of my area. And of course, Akhil, I have the joy of working with you in the same team.
Commiserations on that front.
I bring life to the party. I bring life to the party. You need people like me.
Yeah. I mean, talking about obviously being sad about not being in the office and seeing colleagues. I think this is one week where I'm actually quite glad there is a bit of distance between me and Mr. Vyas. Because we're going to have to get this over at some point, but there was
Let's do it early.
Let's just do it now. There was a football match. Something happened. Somebody won.
Oh my God! You got that so quickly.
Manchester United.
No, it's not Manchester United.
He wishes.
Spurs top.
For anyone that doesn't know, Arsenal were victorious in the FA Cup final on August the 1st. They beat Chelsea and they beat Man City in the semi-finals. Completely out of the blue, to be honest. It surprised me. But yeah, it happened, and it was a beautiful, beautiful weekend.
So I'm delighted to hear it was such an important day for you, and please accept our congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, it's literally it's overtaken my wedding day for sure. It's overtaken, I don't know, graduation.
Probably. Very brave when your wife's out of here.
Wow.
Is the missus anywhere nearby? I mean,
she doesn't work for Thames Water, so she'll never see this. It's fine.
Green lit, baby.
Put it on LinkedIn, and she's bound to see it one day.
Yeah. I'm not that brave. Not worth it.
Well, I'm very pleased they won, mate, and it was a good game. I have to say, even I watched it. It was good.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It was. Thank you very much. But I won't talk about it anymore.
I was going to say, no, we had to give you your due. That was, it's good. Priya, I was interested in what you said about missing everything, and I think Lynn Graham made a good point about how all of these interactions are proactive. There's none of the kind of passive conversations in passing. You don't happen to see someone and catch up, and either about work or not about work. And I think, how have you found that, and and your team as well?
Yeah, it's the spontaneous. I mean, I have to say my team have been actually really, really good at engagement. I mean, nothing to do with just Mr. Vyas here, of course, but he is definitely part of it. But they've been really good at, we've done lots of sort of Teams has been used like never before. We've had lots of group chats. We've done some great stuff over Teams, some quizzes which have been absolutely interesting. And that way it's been great. I think what, to your point, Andrew, what we are missing is the spontaneity. So when you just walk past, I see you, and then we just have a chat about something. It's things like that you really miss, and you think it doesn't matter, but it does. And the other thing I found personally really hard was the fact that there is no the boundaries sort of between home and work life just mix. So you have to be really quite disciplined to say, okay, this is now, work time's finished and this is now home time. And I really struggled with that in the beginning. But having said that, I mean, I would say that to anyone, is if you're struggling with that, find a way to fix it that works for you, because you can never be particularly effective if you just let that carry on. And I went through a downward spiral. I mean, Akhil and I spoke about this quite a lot, where we're just working ridiculous hours, and then finally, literally took a break, went away for a few days to just come back refreshed and decide, okay, this is not going to work. And I'm going to set some more clear boundaries. And I find myself working a lot better when I've got those boundaries in place.
That's good.
Has that impacted you, Miles and Henry, as well, though? Just how have you kind of separated work and kind of life as well? Because it's just a door. That's all it is. It's not a commute anymore. And to be fair, I'm working in my bedroom, so this is my life as well as my working place. So how have you guys found it?
Mr. Evans?
I a bit like what Priya was saying, it kind of chimed with me, really. I find it, I have found it quite tricky. I mean, given the nature of kind of what I and the team do, I mean, if you wanted that to be sort of a 24/7 occupation, it really could be. I mean, the business that we work for is obviously always on. It's never off. There's always something happening. There's issues bubbling away all the time. And, I'm the kind of person that wants to solve problems and get things fixed. And, you have to have like Priya says, I think a real kind of conversation with yourself to sort of say, it's 7 o'clock, you're not adding any value now. So, shut the laptop away and it'll be there tomorrow when you come back. But, like we've said already, I think that the point around, those kind of interactions that we had, just sort of in the corridor, the things that you really value, I've really missed. And I've missed that more with people like yourself, Priya, and Akhil and others who, whilst are not immediately part of that kind of corporate affairs team, we do have lots of dealings with, but we wouldn't see you normally. We don't sit on the same floor and all the rest of it. So it's
Put it this way, you would have hated seeing me every day on the third, fourth, fifth.
This week I'm grateful,
Yeah.
But normally I miss you a little bit.
Normally,
so.
yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. So, Priya, I want to sort of take you back a year. So you said you've been here just over a year. And obviously, when you came in, there was a lot of things going on. There was a restructure, there was the draft determination, and all that was going on. There was so much going on at Thames Water and the industry. I mean, how did you deal with that? Because you came in and there was a lot of change around you.
I did. It feels a bit weird, but it was great because I was really welcomed, and it was some tough times. It took me, but it was because it was so intense. I also didn't have a huge amount of time to just learn, and I had to learn really quickly. At times, there's no such thing as just throwing you in the mix and letting you deal with it. So it was a bit like that. I had to get up to speed with everything and everyone really quickly, and also just understand some of the jargon we have in terms of the FD and the CMAXs and everything else. I mean, I thought I come from an airline industry where every city in the world is a 3-letter acronym, and then telecoms, which I thought was bad, but honestly, this takes it to a completely different level altogether. The amount of jargon we use is amazing. So in some ways it was tough because I felt a bit like in the eye of the storm, lots of stuff happening. In some ways, it was actually really good because I had to learn super fast, and I thought everybody was really so supportive and helpful. And that sort of, in some ways that helped. So it sort of fast tracked my learning, I think, in some ways.
Yeah, nothing like diving in at the deep end, as they say. Yeah.
That's the phrase I was looking for. Henry, you didn't tell us how you feel finding the whole COVID situation, besides missing Mark, of course.
Well, yeah, apart from missing my bows. No, very similar to you, I think, Prue. I'm quite a sociable being. I sort of, like to bounce off people and sort of, you bounce off each other's energy, I suppose. So I've definitely missed the sort of passive stuff, and at times, just the lack of border between work and personal. I've ended up, I think like a lot of people, like motivation and drive has sort of done this throughout, if we're honest with ourselves, and definitely productivity at times has been crazy, like way more than if I was in the office. And then at other times it's just I'm doing stuff and stuff's getting done, but I don't feel like I'm in the zone. And I think that's at times where it's blurring the lines of home and work. You sort of you run that risk of doing both a little bit, don't you? Neither of them. You're not going away and enjoying your downtime and really making the most of it, and you're also not present at work and smashing it. And weirdly, I think I was fine until I took a break, and then I kind of realised that there's all this stuff that I could go and do now, and but I'm feeling much happier now, and actually I'm like you said, I'm going to start going back to the office one day a week just to add a bit of extra routine to my week. So I think that'll make quite a big difference, really.
Well, I found it really hard as well. Coming from BA, that's sort of my background. I used to work for British Airways before I worked for BT, and then I came to Thames, and I traveled a lot, both for work and for pleasure, as you would expect. I can't believe how difficult it's been to not travel. So by this time, I had to cancel for obvious reasons, had to cancel about 4 or 5 holidays that I had planned and booked. And that's the frequency with which I would know, even if it's a weekend away or whatever, it'll normally be going somewhere. And I found that really hard. Besides everything else that's happening around the world, it's a really different time. So I guess for me it's been, how can you find some good stuff out of it and hang on to them, so you don't just then feel, oh my god, the whole world is going through some real crazy change.
And it's little stuff like you said, kind of finding the local paths and stuff. This is so challenging, and we're so lucky at a base level that we've all jobs have been secured, and all of this sort of stuff. But there is a gift somewhere in here around appreciating the small things, and we've discussed this with lots of guests that have been on. And like you say, you could be really down in the dumps about having to cancel 4 holidays. That's crap, isn't it? Let's be honest. But if in place of that you've discovered camping, or you like cycling, or you see more of your family,
I have never actually spent so much time in my back garden as I did now, and it's great. I mean, little things like, I'm like, oh, that angle looks really nice, and there are lots of lovely bird sounds here. So you just learn to appreciate what you've got. So yeah.
I know, Miles, you had a question about airline and stuff, but just obviously where I live, literally near Heathrow, I know, I'm not even exaggerating, I know at least 100 people probably that work in and around Heathrow, whether it's for the authority or for airlines, and most of them are furloughed, including about 10 in my family. So it is, aviation is really, it's had a devastating impact on that. And, I don't know about you guys, but I really want to go on holiday, but the plane thing just scares me. The tube, the underground in London scares me, let alone a plane. But yeah, I know, Miles, you wanted to.
No, I was just going to draw an interesting kind of parallel between that. I think we talked a little bit about, job security and the industry that we work in. And, I guess everybody's got their own view on kind of how our business has kind of stepped up to the plate. My view is I think it's done a really remarkable job, actually, in keeping everybody employed and keeping us kind of ticking over. And you kind of contrast that, Priya, with your experience of the airline industry and kind of what that's going through. That must be quite an interesting comparison for somebody that's kind of worked in both of those industries to make, because they've just gone in very, very different directions, haven't they, I suppose?
They have, and it's been really difficult because I still have a lot of friends there, and and across not just BA but a lot of other airlines across the world, and tourism industry generally. And it's really heartbreaking to see, some of the things we've had to stop, and it's sort of the world has changed. um Again, I think it will come back. It'll come back in some ways. Things will recover. There was a very interesting colleague of mine, one of the directors from BA. He'd put in an article in LinkedIn where he feels that it will recover sooner than they're predicting in the market. Who knows, and some of this we'll have to just watch and see. But I guess coming back to everything, I think the most important thing in this period for everybody, whether they've been a key worker in our industry, working really crazy hours, and then worrying about, trying to enjoy the sunshine outside, and then worrying about supply and demand on the other hand, when we have incidents and things like
Only
that.
at Thames Water.
Yeah. But it's like that. It's like, there are so many ups and downs to go through in this period. The most important thing at this point in time is the mental health. So although the pandemic is not about mental health, I think it's probably impacted that more than anything else for everybody. And then I feel the same about the airline industry. I mean, it is heartbreaking to see they retired the 747, my favorite aircraft. At the amount of times I used to travel a huge amount, and I used to get inside an aircraft, and I used to feel I'm back home. It was literally that feeling, and I feel so gutted that they've had to retire her a bit early. But that's why it's called a pandemic. It has far-reaching consequences. I was in the airline industry during 9/11, so I've seen some really tough times. But this has been unprecedented in terms of it's sort of not war, but it is sort of so far-reaching without being that. So it's definitely been unprecedented, I would say, for everybody. But I mean, I can still see people keeping buoyant, and people keeping sort of, encouraging each other to say that things are going to come back. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And what about sort of thinking back to your role here at Thames? Now you've been here a year, looking at the next 6 to 12 months, what your kind of big focus is, and what are you looking forward to?
So the big focus areas, I mean, it'd be quite nice to find a new normal out of COVID for everybody. That'd be quite nice, and figure out how we take some of the good things from the flexibility of working from home, and also add some of the things where we can actually meet each other periodically, which would be rather nice. I owe you a drink, by the way, Henry. I remember that one very clearly.
Oh yes.
Oh,
I think we agreed on a large pint. Yeah.
A large pint, yes. So it's things like that, having that balance. But from a work perspective, the key thing for me is our customer satisfaction. So understandably, in my role, that's something that I'm particularly bothered about, worried about, keeps me awake at night, but it's also quite exciting for me. And it's what do we do to make that sing a lot more. So I don't know if you have talked about this before, but in Q1, when we had we do two kinds of survey. One is called the service survey, where we actually ask customers, what do you think about your interaction with us in terms of service? And then the other one is the brand perception survey. It's more about what do you think of us. So you may not have actually called us, but what do you think of us if you're in our region? And we found that in Q1, our brand perception survey really went up. Brilliant. I mean, it went up much higher than everywhere else. So it was a recognition of the key worker status and everything else we were doing around COVID to help customers. However, I think this is something, it's not going to last. We can already see customer patience dropping. And what do we need to do as a company to bring that back up? That has to be the most important thing on my book, and that involves a lot of stuff. How can we make our website really better? How can we make self-service really cool? We got some amazing new technology. I mean, I've got to say a big kudos to our digital colleagues. We got people working really quickly from home, and I mean, amazing. That was amazing. So well done, guys. And it's things like that. And how can we use that technology to just sort of leapfrog and really help our customers? So it's using that technology, making our website really the best possible thing that they've ever seen, and things like brand perception driving that, and and doing a lot of things that makes things simpler and clearer for customers in terms of how we communicate with them, all that kind of stuff. But effectively, the outcome trying to drive is really customer satisfaction overall.
And from your experience, because I always think you sit in such an interesting part of the business where you sort of are both listening to the customer, but also a bit of a voice back to it, and research aspect, all of that combined. This might be a silly question. Are there themes that you've picked up that contribute to our negative NPS and our negative satisfaction scores? Are there 2 or 3 key things that you're like, these are really why people are miffed? Because everyone's got a bad Thames Water story somewhere hidden away, it seems.
Yes, but we've got to also acknowledge that a lot of people are also giving us pretty good feedback as well. It's like everything else we do, humans, it's quite easy to just fixate on the negative. We do get some really good feedback. I'll give you an example. My neighbour, this is when I was just about to join Thames Water, and I said, oh, I'm moving and I'm going to be joining Thames Water. And she said, oh, they're wonderful. They just fixed my meter for me and they were really lovely and polite and everything. But I want to talk to you about BT. And I was like,
I can't win.
I just can't win, can you? Because you almost always get something or the other. So it's bound to happen. But I think the key themes, I'd say there are 3 key things. The first one is communication. Yeah, a lot of times we are not proactive enough. And if we were proactive enough and we were clear, not just proactive, but we were clear enough. So, basically telling you, for example, Miles, we're going to, I'm just making this up, we're going to switch off your water or do something else or in your area from this time to this. Just being clear on what to expect, setting the right expectations and doing that proactively. That's a key theme that comes in, the clarity. And with the bill, at the moment, we're doing quite a lot of research on the bill, and the research on the bill is basically telling us about how we can make it a lot simpler, because we use some beautiful jargon. Assess household charges and various other things, which is difficult for customers to necessarily understand and comprehend. So how can we make that communications really simple and proactive? So that's the key thing. The second thing I would say, which is like really comes through time and again, is how can we do things quickly? So if customers don't want to hang around, they don't want to spend a lot of effort in a nice-ish way, they'd much rather not talk to us. They just want things to work. They don't have a need to talk to us, and it should just work if possible in the background. And if it's not working, tell us clearly. So the second bit is that effortlessness of how can you do things quickly? How can you get through to someone when you do need them quickly? How can you, if I've got a problem, I've got a leak, how can you fix it quickly? So it's that speed. And the third one, I would say, effectively, is just caring about them and just being aware. Particularly if you're a priority customer, for example, you've got some challenges. You need more water because of medical conditions or various other things. It's just bearing their personal situation in mind and just getting there. So I would say those are the 3 things. Proactive, clear comms, doing things really quickly and making it effortless for the customer. And the third thing is being mindful of their particular specific needs.
Easy. Job done. Simple.
Exactly.
Up now.
Andrew Burton is sitting somewhere looking at what I've said and just comparing it back to the
I think obviously in social media, you see it everywhere though, aren't you? That people are very quick to tell you what you've done wrong or you've done badly, but will not tell you, how often do you go to a restaurant and send them a message the day after to say, by the way, that was really good? Or you go on TripAdvisor and say, actually, this was really bad. You're more likely to do the second one. If it was good, you just say nothing. But on social, I think I mentioned it here, that March and April was just a joy. It's like everyone was like loving us. And we would say sorry to people and they would be like, you know what? That's okay. I get it. Don't worry about it. But now it's back to, no, you should have done this. And, and that's fair enough, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but yeah. I think it's last couple of minutes. Henry, just a quick update in your area. What's kind of environment, outdoor space? It must be it's a weird, it's a weird summer, isn't it? Like, we've got these lovely temperatures, but you've still got some restrictions and stuff.
Yeah. Obviously, we still are committed to being a place where people can go and exercise, get closer to nature and all that. But I think everyone's still quite nervous. A lot of our kind of friends of groups where we have a lot of volunteers help us do some of the the actual work on our nature reserves in particular. A lot of them are a bit tentative about coming back. You obviously want to encourage people to get out to our bigger sites like Walthamstow and Farmhall, but equally, if they get completely mobbed, then that does present a challenge as well. And stuff like we've got so many sailing clubs, paddleboarding clubs, kayaking, people that use our sites, which is amazing. It's a really big part of our public value offering. But little stuff like you need a safety note if you're going to go out and do sailing or paddleboarding. That's fine. Okay, they could come back. But what happens if someone goes in the water? Well, you're not going to be able to maintain a 2 meters distance when you need to grab someone and pull them into the boat. So we've had lots of that sort of stuff that we've been working through, and I'm pleased to say we're pretty much open as much as we can be for most of our sites. The challenge we've had for a few is sort of encouraging people back. And then also, we've had quite a lot of vandalism on some of our more obscure remote sites.
Really?
Which, but Karen Sutton, who we had on a few weeks ago now, helps run our reserves out in East London, and we just Crossness has just seen a massive influx of people nicking stuff, breaking in. Every time you put a new padlock on a whatever, they come and they bring a grinder and knock it off. So it's a real interesting time because, as you say, everyone's really grateful in lots of ways that we've kept these spaces open or that we've opened up really quickly, and mostly it's positive. And the teams that we've got out on the ground have worked brilliantly, and health and safety have been really great about understanding how this is a bit different to some of our other sort of day-to-day operations, and it's been great on the whole. Don't get me wrong, but so it's an odd picture across the board, but largely positive. And my favourite, last week I was doing some filming at Farmhall because we've bought a second wheelchair accessible boat, which is great. And it's it's little stuff like that even amongst all of this, there's been some absolute gems of kind of giving back to our customers, serving them in a way that isn't archetypally maybe Priya, your vision of customer service, but it's to the people that use that site, that's revolutionary, and then you
Absolutely.
couldn't be happier.
It's all part of the customer experience, so that's why it's customer experience, right? Because I think what you're doing is really crucial part of it, and I must find a way to come to Farmhall, by the way, I have to say. Talking about
Great
visits,
site.
I was in Mogden today, and I have to say it was incredible. I have never been so excited by poo as I was today. I was taught all about the various stages, and Nigel could give me a good test afterwards, and I managed to tell him about all the right stages in the right order. And Akhil, it did not smell. On the hottest day of the year or whatever it is, it was not bad at all. It was actually smelling absolutely fine, and I was just wondering what to expect, and it was great. I had such a wonderful time. So I think some of the greatest times we have is when you go out to site and actually visit our sites, because what we do is quite remarkable, isn't it? It's sort of as we say, it's life's absolutely essential. That we are actually delivering, and there's nothing more important than water in many ways.
Yeah.
I think those visits, I remember when I first joined, actually, because I was, especially on social media, I had to tell the story of, say, supply and demand. But unless I really got it and saw it myself, like, well, what do you mean we can't cope with demand at treatment works? Why can't we treat water more? Well, actually go and see it and you'll see it. And then when you see it, you're like, oh, wow, these guys are working really hard. Like, it's good to understand, isn't it?
And I've got to really hand it to our guys out there, both in the waterworks and the waste networks, everybody who's been out on the roads, out in the sites, and they've been doing this all through this period as well. So well done, everybody.
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
amazing. And I'm like I'd like to say a kid in a candy shop, not quite. But I am really excited.
With more hand washing,
yeah, and less candy.
I'm great fun. I'm so excited about the whole thing.
Oh, I'm so pleased you enjoyed it. I bet Nigel and Dina were over the moon that you had such a good day.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant, and it was also one of my first She7 visits as such, so which is great as well. So it's I think it's a brilliant thing to do, and I'd like to do many more. So I just need to find more sites around now. Well, where can I go next?
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be lots of suggestions.
Yeah.
People watching this will be inundating it in the comments
Yeah,
box
yeah.
underneath. Going, come
The
here,
many
come here.
tens of thousands of viewers.
Our massive viewership.
All eight of them hopefully will give us some good comments.
It's gone up to about 12.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. No, we're doing all right now. Double digits. It's incredible.
Now we're proud.
Excellent.
Switch to fortnightly. It just teases them, leaves them wanting more.
Well, look, guys, I think we're probably running out of time. So, huge thank you to Priya for giving up some time to talk to us on, as she said, what is a very, very hot day. I don't know if this is coming through, and when this goes live, it may be a bit cooler. We are all very, very warm sat here. So thanks everybody. Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought Henry had done well to hide that throughout the entire call, and then we got right to the end, and he's like, "No, I can't hide this anymore."
But it is important to say we are filming this at it's about 5:39, so it's not
in the morning.
It's 5:30 somewhere.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you guys. I think obviously we're doing this fortnightly. I don't think I've just asked a question on the little chat box here whether we can announce a certain something, which I don't think we can announce this yet. Other than to say we've got a pretty big guest lined up. Like, you thought we'd sort of done some pretty big folk already. We've had, George has been on here, Kelly's been on here, Priya's been on here now. It's pretty good. It's pretty exciting. But
we are still in negotiations, though. I'm not going to be that boring person who just says.
Mr. Sky Sports News. We're in negotiations. The transfer hasn't actually happened.
Yeah.
We're getting close. So no, but it'd be good. It'd be good if that comes off. That'd be very exciting. So
next week I'll be outside Thames Water's office just with a mic and telling you how the negotiations have gone. All right, don't worry.
We think you're joking. But anyway, look, guys, lovely to see you. Stay safe, stay well, and go and find a fan or something, but not a paddling pool, because we shouldn't be filling those up.
Yes.
But if you do reuse that water to, on your grass, your plants, and etc.
Save water, drink beer.
A vital message from Henry Badman.
No, drink more water.
Yeah, drink water. See you soon, guys.